What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bryce, and today I'm going to be reading Chapter 3 of the Parker Inheritance. Let's begin. Chapter 3. A few minutes later, Candace returned to her room to change clothes. Her mother had suggested they grab lunch at Lambert Landmark, and then she'd finally take Candace to the library. But not in those holy jeans, her mother had said. As happy as Candace was about finding new books and spending some time with her mom, she was also worried about her. Specifically about her mom's looming writing deadlines. Her mother was a romance novelist, Jane Harris, Roberta Caldwell, Amanda Sandstone. She had written books under those names and plenty of others. She always said she wanted to take a break from romance assignments to write her Anne C. Miller novel, but with the house sale dragging on, she signed up for 3 more projects, all with deadlines that would have been hard to meet even if she'd been writing nonstop. But she wasn't writing seemingly at all. Instead, she watched a lot of reality television, visited Miss Jones across the street, and took long walks around the neighborhood. As Candace searched her dresser for a more suitable pair of jeans, she heard her mother in the kitchen speaking on the phone in hushed tones. It was another reminder of how much smaller Grandma's house was compared to their place in Atlanta. Candace had always wondered if her parents had moved into their 5-bedroom house thinking they'd have a lot of kids, and if they were disappointed when it ended up being only her. Well, well, look who's outside, her mother said breezily as they stepped out of the house 10 minutes later. We should say hello. Across the street, Miss Jones and her son sat on the porch reading. Candace's mother had been encouraging her to walk over and introduce herself to the boy, but Candace hadn't seen the point. She would be back in Atlanta in 2 months. Why make friends when she was just going to leave? Plus, he was only 11 years old. She didn't like hanging out with the boys her own age, much less boys who were a year younger. Hey, Juanita, Brandon, her mother said. We're off to grab a bite of lunch at PJ's and pop into the library. Care to join us? I just ate, Miss Jones said, before turning to her son. But Brandon hasn't had lunch. What do you say? Want to tag along with Candace and Miss Miller? No, thank you, he replied. He didn't look up from his magazine. Maybe you didn't hear her, Miss Jones said. She's going to the library too. Brandon glanced up. How long will you be there? Brandon, don't be rude, his mother snapped. No, he's fine, Candace's mother said. We'll be there for a while, I imagine. I've been promising to take Candace since we moved here. Today seems like as good a day as any. Brandon and his mother stared at each other. It was clear that their eyes were having a private, silent conversation. He closed his magazine. Let me grab my wallet, he said, sounding defeated. Miss Jones smiled and motioned for him to stay. How about I treat? She rose from her chair. Let me grab my purse. I'll be back in a second. She entered the house. No one spoke for a few seconds. I heard you were an author, Brandon finally said to Candace's mother, breaking the silence. He had a short body and skinny legs. His high tops kept brushing against the porch as he rocked in his chair. Are you writing anything now? His voice was softer than it had been a moment before. Her mom fiddled with the clasp on her watch. Just a few projects, nothing serious. Are they like scary? Brandon asked. Or is it a romance like their secret? Candace said, crossing her arms. Her mother didn't like talking about her books with people, at least not when she was in the middle of writing them. It was one of her many superstitions when it came to her work. Brandon, your mom told me you're a pretty hardcore reader, her mother said. What type of books do you like? A little bit of everything, Brandon said. I guess I like boy books. What does that even mean? Candace wanted to ask. Books about guns and war? Books that only contain boys? Who are your favorite authors? Her mother continued. Brandon, stop rocking. I don't know. Maybe Stephen King? James Patterson? He glanced at Candace and hesitated. Then he looked at his lap. You know, authors like that. Candace realized she was giving him a look. I like Stephen King and James Patterson as well, her mother said. Candace reads a little bit of everything too, she said. Have you read anything new this summer, Candace? Candace shook her head. Her mother knew she hadn't read anything new. That was why they were going to the library. Look at us, a big group of word nerds, her mother said. Her grin was much too wide. Candace frowned at her mother. Why was she trying to force a conversation when it was clear neither she nor Brandon wanted to talk? After thinking about it for a bit, Candace realized what was going on. This had all been a setup to get her and Brandon to spend more time together. Candace was sure his mom was in on it too. Was Brandon? It didn't matter. She already had Dee Dee and Courtney back in Atlanta. She didn't need any other friends, especially not 11-year-old book snobs. And that's the chapter. So tomorrow I'll be reading chapter 4. Well, that's about it. Peace out.